Hey guys, I'd like to welcome you to the Kortex Media Podcast, where we navigate the fast-paced world of automotive and more. I'm your host, Corson Schmidt. Today joining me is Colby Rasplicka from Carefree Windshield Repair. Colby is a true expert in the auto glass industry with 15 years of hands-on experience. He holds a degree in business innovation and has also built a strong foundation in marketing and SEO skills that have helped him grow his business and connect with consumers in new ways. Colby's philosophy is simple but powerful. Treating people fairly is the cornerstone of a successful business. This commitment to honesty and customer care has helped Carefree Windshield Repair earn a reputation for reliability and trust in a competitive market. Whether he's perfecting repair techniques, streamlining operations, or connecting with customers, Colby is dedicated to raising the bar in auto glass service, one windshield at a time. It's great to have you on, Colby.
Thanks for having me, Corson. I appreciate the time.
No worries, no worries. So I kind of touched a little bit on your background, but if you don't mind, can you share the story of how you got started in the windshield repair business and kind of what inspired you to launch Carefree Windshield Repair?
So I was forced into this, we'll say. My dad actually started the company in 1991. So it started out just doing repairs and then moved into replacements and a little bit more over the years. And as time went on and I got older, it would be like, hey, can you come help me do this? Can you come help me do that? Or he'd be, summer break and he'd be like, you're not going to stay home, you're going to work. And so through a little bit of this, a little bit of that, it was like, here, you can learn how to take a door apart, you can clean a glass, you can do this, you can do that. And so I kind of just did that consistently since I was probably like 10. And then right when I was probably about 15, it started to be like, hey, this was a great way to make money in the summer. And it was like, if you help me, I'll pay you. And I was like, awesome. So then I was making more money doing this than I was any other like kind of part-time jobs I had. And so just kind of like one thing progressed after another, after another, after another. Eventually I ended up going to school. I was like, I'm going to go to college. And so I kind of took a hiatus on it. And then after school, I had a couple of different careers. I worked in marketing for an agency for a little while. I did
Nice.
sales. I did a couple of different things. And then kind of was looking for a business to be in. And my dad was getting ready to kind of retire. And he was like, hey, you know what? Like, you already know this. You know what? It might be just a good jumping off point. You can get into it. It was actually the last thing that I wanted to do because I was so close to it all the time. But it was cool because I got a new light into it where it was like, okay, I have all these skills that I've earned and I have the technical know-how and now I know how to run a business and now I know all this stuff from school. Well, let me see if I can put it into practice. And so I was fortunate enough to work out a deal with him and be able to purchase the company from him. And then slowly but surely it was just, okay, let's change this, let's change that. And we've kind of, over the last couple of years, just built it more and more and more. Just kind of being consistent with industry trends and learning like, hey, you got to have a digital footprint because he was kind of old school of like, no, business card and word of mouth. And so I was like,
Yeah.
hey, we could take this to another level, but it's going to take some of this stuff. And he's like, I don't want to do it. It's all you. It's like, all right. So
No, that's awesome. The background in school definitely helps with businesses. Like you said, there's still a lot of old school business owners out there that just want to run one website, business cards, and word of mouth. But it's nice that you got to get a different view by going to school and working marketing, working in sales to figure out how to actually run a business properly in this digital day and age.
mhm.
Can you just tell the audience what you guys do, kind of the area you guys offer service, and what you guys do at Carefree Windshield?
Yeah, so we do anything that's glass on a car. So you've got windshields, you've got door glasses, you've got back glasses, you've got mirrors. Um, we can do three different things that are kind of our main bread and butter. We do repairs, right? That's what we started on. So that's when you get maybe like a little chip. You're probably familiar with that. You get a little chip off from the rock on the road and it
Yeah.
turns into a little star. And then those things end up growing. So we fill those. The other thing is if you don't catch those and you need a full replacement, we'll do that. And then again, that goes along with if somebody breaks in, we do a door glass or a back glass. And then we also do all the calibration. So all the new cars have lane departure, any of those systems that are advanced driver systems. We go in after we're done, calibrate all the camera, just because that's part of what we're looking at that we have to do, just kind of with what the day and age is coming of.
That's awesome. No, I would never even thought of that myself, being an automotive enthusiast, looking at all the sensors and making sure they're aligned. Never would have thought of that. So you've been in the industry for 15 years. How long was your dad in the industry doing windshield repairs?
He was doing it for about 30 years. So, like I said, he started just doing chip repairs, and then so they learned how to do replacements, and then more and more. And he kind of was on the tail end of doing like the ADAS calibration stuff. So right when I came in, I was like, hey, this is something this is getting really big. We were starting to do more and more, and it was like, hey, we probably need to invest in this technology. This is going to be something that it's going to hit, and they're going to require it and everything. And I would rather be ahead of the game than late in the game. And so, yeah, but he did it for, like I said, about 30 years, and then now he likes to play golf.
So, so you had a good teacher to bring you up in the industry, which is nice. And you probably had a great foundation to build off of when you first stepped into the company as well.
Yes, I had a lot of good. He was great, and the other thing too is like he was kind of self-taught, we'll say, right? But he also had friends that he knew that he had met that were also other glass shop owners that taught him things. It's interesting because I think a lot of people think that whatever industry you're in, your competition is like these people that you don't talk to. But we know lots of guys that are also in the same industry, do the same thing, and have similar customers, and they're good assets where we call them and we're just like, hey, I can't figure this out. I had a problem the other day, and I was like, do you have somebody who has this tool? And it's like, yes, for sure. And it's a lot easier to be in business if you rely on those relationships and you help those people out when they have a trouble. And so not only did I have him as a mentor, but I have some of those people as well as people that are like, have done it for like 40, 50, 60 years that call. I'm like, I need help, and it's kind of cool now because they'll call me on stuff that I know. Like, I know the technology side. I'm like, how do you do this? I have no idea. And I'm like, well, okay, cool. Like, let me teach you something. So it's definitely one of those twofold things, but it's all relationships.
For sure. And that's a lot of the companies that I've been talking to throughout the podcast. They've been saying the same thing. Like, they look at business as a community aspect. Like, every shop in the community works together to build a better brand for one another, and they get good reputation. Say a shop can't figure it out, they say, oh, I know a guy, I'll contact him, see if he can figure it out. And it's great that people are actually using the communities to work together. I think it's awesome, instead of fighting and using each other's competition.
Yeah, so, it's important. They're your friends, and they fight the same battles all the time, and oftentimes, like, they go through the same struggles. And so if you can help them and they can help you, like, all boats rise with the tide, right? That's the metaphor.
That's awesome. Yeah. So as the co-founder, that's what I'm going to call you, as the co-founder. What does a typical day look like for you? Are you mostly in the office? Are you doing repairs? Are you on the road?
I kind of float around all over, but a lot more of my day is in the shop. So we're here making sure everything's going right. Like, parts are here. If we have something that's maybe an issue, like, I'll try to step in and solve it, so that we always have a couple of cars in the shop that are getting replacements or repairs going on. So again, most of the time it's like I'm coming in, I'm making sure, hey, we have parts, or if we need, hey, can you jump on this? There's a repair that showed up, but I'm busy doing this. Okay, great, I can handle that. Or if it's something that, like, in business, you're always kind of running into issues. There's fires all the time. Something's going on. So I am kind of like a fill all void of, hey, can you help with this? Yes, for sure. Because I know, the whole umbrella of, like, hey, this is what we do in this, this is what we do in that. So a lot of my day is kind of like just being filled wherever I need.
That's awesome. No, that's nice to have that owner that steps in as well. It's nice that you're still connected with the company, making sure everything's in line, working properly, and to ensure the team is doing high quality work. And that's leads me to my next question. How do you ensure quality and consistency across your team, especially as your business grows?
That's a really tough question, and that's a hard thing because you can't do every piece of work.
Yeah,
And everybody who's an owner learns this the hard way where you have to put people that you trust in place, but you also have to like set an example of what is and what's not gonna pass, right? So a lot of it is through just like standard procedure. If we do these things this way, you need to prep it this way, you need to be using this type of glue. Like I have a good eye on what uh, should be done, and I have to trust that my team will do that. Does that always happen? 99% of the time. And sometimes there's mistakes, but the biggest thing is like who you pick, and then if they can do it and they have the technical skills, you'll find out really fast whether or not they're going to be an asset or they're going to be a liability. So it's kind of comes down to two things: who you pick, make sure that they're running the same procedures that you want them to do, and they're doing it how your shop runs, and then you just kind of trial by fire and make sure that doing checkups, making sure everything's going right, and asking customers how they're treated. If you're having issues with callbacks, you're handling them, and then you're just saying, "Hey, what happened here? Oh, okay, that was a fluke," or "Oh, that was something that you're starting to slip on technique." And so it's an ebb and a flow always.
for sure. And how do you usually find those good employees and keep that morale high to keep everyone happy that they're working for you? And how many guys do you have in the shop working for you at the moment?
Yes, we have two technicians right now. Um, in order, finding people is always a hard thing, right? Um, Word of mouth helps a ton. People always
Yeah,
know somebody, especially if hey, this guy's looking to do something else. Maybe he wants a different balance. Maybe he wants a different schedule. Um, you can use your standard LinkedIn or Indeed or something of that nature to find employees. Again, word of mouth helps a ton. Hey, I'm looking for a guy. Do you know somebody? Oh yeah, I know a guy who wants to do this, and he would fit great at your company. Um, but it's kind of like people come in, you take a chance, you see, and you vet them, and you get better at doing that. And as you get better at doing that, you learn the signs earlier than later. But really, that is just through experience.
for sure, for sure. Who was your biggest role model in your entrepreneurial journey now that you're running the company?
I had It's hard because I wouldn't pin it down on one person. I had so many good influences throughout my life that were self-starters. Inside of my family and out, I had some really great professors that in my degree program, what we worked with was businesses that were literally facing a problem. We had to go in and we had to solve them. And if we didn't pass. And that was like, they're like, this is as close to real life as you get. If you don't fix their problem, you don't pass. And so some of my professors in that, specifically, I had one, Colleen Stiles, was tremendous, where she would call you out if you were doing something wrong. As well as my grandfathers were both ran businesses, my dad. So I can't point it to one person. All of these people have taught me a little bit of like, this is how you can do this is how you can do that. And I've been fortunate enough to have such a breadth of people to pull knowledge from.
That's super nice. Now you're keeping it going in the family, being an entrepreneur yourself. Um, would you recommend people going to, or people to go to business school and take those marketing courses and those sales courses, or just business course in general?
You know, I think it depends on if it's something that that you lack, then yes, I'm all for education. Nobody can ever take it away from you. But
Yeah,
it's not necessarily something that you need. If you can find everything that you want to know out there. The fortunate thing about college or even any education, if it's online or wherever you're getting it, most of the time it's structured, and it's really hard to do that. It's really hard to find education and teach yourself something in an unstructured way. A lot of good YouTube out there. There's still a ton of stuff that I use to continue my education because things change all the time. Um, I pull actually a ton of information off of like Facebook groups because there's like specifically for the ADAS stuff, there's a lot of technical knowledge and there's schools out there that have it. And there's user manuals, but there's a lot of people that have really good communities. They're like, hey, you have this problem, you do this. And it's like, I can't get that all the time reading from a book. So to answer your question, if it's something that you know that you're lacking, that you need to learn, 100%. If you're like, I'm going to go to school to learn how to sell because I just cannot do it and I cannot figure it out, and this guy's going to teach me how to do it, I'm all for it. But I think blanketly doing it can be a gamble.
For sure. That makes a lot of sense. And it's got to be something that you're interested as well, because it's not expensive to do. And you do have the YouTube, you have Google, you have everything out there now that you can just look it up and you can teach yourself a lot just using the internet. You spoke about how the industry is always changing. What major changes or trends have you seen in the auto glass repair industry in recent years? And then we'll move into the kind of the automotive as a whole as well.
So glass specifically, and I touched on this before, was like the ADAS systems they've come so far. Kind of the early ones that we saw, like 2013 was actually some of the earliest camera systems in cars that just figured out if you had a lane departure. Then 2016, different camera makers. About 2018, almost everything has it. I don't know if this is something that's true or not, but I'm even seeing base level cars. You know, you have your base all the way up to like your premium version. All of them are having the camera systems in them. It used to be something that was just a premium version.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty highly insurance driven because it does keep people safer. And it's kind of like a digital seatbelt. You know, Volvo comes out with the seatbelt. They say, hey, this is a life-saving technology. Let's give it to everybody. It has a similar feel because this technology relates to self-driving cars, relates to user safety. You know, anything that can cut down deaths, can help prevent insurance companies from paying out for casualties, like, is going to move the needle. So I see a lot of these cars having more and more and more and more of those features, which is tremendous for consumers on the safety side. But on the cost side, it's really starting to hurt people, where we used to be able to do a piece of glass for maybe like $200-300. Mind you, this was 5-10 years ago. Now we're seeing repair bills be closer to like $600, $800, $1,200, even more. And that's something where people go, oh gosh, I bought this car and like I have to get a windshield in it. We're like, this is just the cost because you're driving a laptop. You know, every time
literally
you break, it's like dropping your MacBook every year, and you're like, I can't afford this. And so we're seeing a lot more of that. Like I said, it's great, but it's kind of going to come down to at what cost for the consumer.
For sure. That's definitely something that would definitely drive up the price, having all the technologies and stuff that they have inside vehicles now. Do you see it getting even more advanced, kind of like, because now they have auto dimming mirrors, so say if someone's driving behind you, they have auto dimming mirrors. Is that going to be something to do with side windows as well? Like say, if it's super bright out, like super bright, like sun's beaming in on you, they're going to have like self tinting almost windows and stuff? Or do you think that it's going to get even further than how the technology has now? Obviously it will with the world, but how do you think that direction's going to turn?
Yeah, I've never thought of that, but like a transition lens for your glass.
Yeah.
If that comes, that is going to be crazy expensive.
It would be.
And people are not going to want to replace that. So, and probably, like, to be totally honest, if we look at like high-end stuff that we do, it has all the bells and whistles and they're super cool, but a lot of people don't use them. And so the other thing is, like, what are consumers willing to purchase? What are they willing to pay for to service? It's all great if you're under warranty, right? You take it to the dealership, give them the keys, they do it. Once it hits outside that threshold, again, 2018, 2019, 2020, we're seeing 5 years old, people are switching cars. That's kind of the average. Now, the secondary market, like people probably won't want to put that stuff back in it, and they'll want to say like, what's the alternative? And it'll be like, well, we can put the same piece of glass in, but it's not transition. I go, I don't care, I'll get it tinted. You know?
Yeah.
So and with more advanced things, we see more advanced problems. And like, I'll give you an example that we face: back glasses in trucks. Really cool. They have power sliders, right? Open, close, right?
Yeah.
Awesome feature if you use it. To fix one of those, you have to pull out the entire rear cab of the truck to get to the motor to fix that. It's a very expensive job. People are like, I don't care. I don't want it. I'm going to put in base. So I think there will be a tipping point maybe where, hey, more features aren't making people happier. They're not, you know, but I don't know. I don't know what will be the
It's tough
future.
to say. And who knows, they might even move to a more crack resistant glass at some point as well. You never know. With the price rising of everything and technology, they might find a cheaper alternative to crack resistant glass. I don't know, it's hard to say.
Yeah.
It's quite a niche industry, and more pushing towards automotive. What are your trend? What trends do you see there? Like, are you seeing a lot more EVs in the shop? Are you seeing a lot more hybrids? Are people still driving their 20-year-old vehicles?
You know, we meet everybody. Everybody's got a car and everybody's got a piece of glass. So it's like, you know, from one spectrum to the other, we meet everybody, which is really cool because you get a really good feel of like you get to meet the general population, which is awesome.
For sure.
We do see a lot of hybrids. We see a lot of new stuff come out. Again, we see systems. Here's how it will go, Corson. It will go. People do not want to have to pay attention, and they don't want to have to drive. Look at Tesla. If you can sit in your Tesla and you can push a button and you can go down the road and it drives for you, even if you have to pay attention, it's mentally a lot easier to sit in traffic.
For sure.
Everybody will integrate this technology, and it's already almost there. You have adaptive cruise control, which will pull up to a car behind you and it will just follow on their bumper, right? And that's a little radar system in the front that finds metal in the other car. More and more of this kind of self-driving technology will definitely come, but people will want to have control. So there will be this, and that's what we already see, right? We already see that's kind of the ADAS systems. That's the general term of it, but these are broken down into many areas. More and more of these will come about, but still give people control until people don't really care. And you notice that with, like, again, Tesla or Rivian or some of the newer, even electric cars. That will be where we're moving because, you know, it's effort to drive and sit in traffic, and nobody wants to do that. And if car manufacturers can make it easy, they will.
And we're all getting a little lazier, even though we don't realize it.
Yeah. I just want to sit there and scroll on my phone. That sounds way more fun than just like having to pay attention and make sure that I don't hit the guy in front of me.
Or even a lot of business people get chauffeurs, but if they can cut the cost on a chauffeur, they have a car that does it for them. Like it's
look at like Waymo, you know, that technology they got a big thing on the top of their car. Eventually, you know, the rule of technology, they'll make it smaller, they'll make it faster, give it 2 years. And then somebody will be like, we can put this inside of RAV4s. And somebody's like, this is awesome. I plug my RAV4 in, it pull, you know, the self, what was I watching the other day? There's a Chinese company that makes an electric car and they're self-parking. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Oh, really? No, I thought you were going to say the Chinese company that's making electric cars, they're making them like super cheap. But
they are making them super cheap.
Maybe it's the same company.
But they're making them really, really good technology. Like there's one of them parking and they can spin the wheels and drag the car. And
that's crazy.
And like like the Hummer with like the crab walk, like all of that kind of stuff with, you live in a tight city and you have to park this car in this, you'll pull up, boom, your car will go over. Like all of the stuff that you thought was in the future is probably like 5 years away, where it's like,
Yeah.
okay, all the new stuff, right? You'll still have people that we still do stuff in like 1969 Camaros and they're sweet, you know, like
Yeah.
nobody's going to get rid of that. But new technology is cool. And I'm sure more and more companies will start to get on board with it.
For sure. It's yeah, it's just the way of the world, right? Like everything's pushing towards technology, from even AI in business as an example. But yeah, I think I agree with you. The cars are all going to be automated. You're not going to be driving a car in the upcoming years, and it's going to be a totally different world.
It's in theory, it's a lot safer if people don't drive. Like humans
Yeah.
are the cause of the air most of the time, and
Yeah.
so statistically, they'll say, "Oh, this is safer." So if you get insurance, if you get an automated car, your insurance will go down to this much, and you'll go,
Yeah.
"Okay, great, I can save money."
I think it'll take a while to get all the actual driven cars off the road, but as soon as everything's all autonomous, it's going to be it'll be way safer because they're all connected through a channel somehow. I don't even know how, but they're all connected, and they have the brain power to know when to go, when not to go, because they've been programmed so well, and they've been working on it for years now, and they're still going to be they're going to be processing for a long time yet before it drops, but it's definitely something that's going to come in the future.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So you guys have built a reputation for convenience and reliability. What do you think sets your company apart from others in the market?
We try to make sure that we treat every customer like they're our first customer, and that's hard to do, but
Hmm.
everybody wants to be taken care of, and like getting a cracked windshield is never convenient. And I've been in shops and had people, we if we tell people a price, we give them the price, right? Like that's the thing. We don't hide anything. There's a lot of shops that'll give them this, and then they'll be like, "There's a recycling fee and this fee and this fee and this fee," and it was like, "Well, you told me 385, and then I got out of here for 560. Like, what the hell?" And so, um, I was like, I had that happen to me one time with something else, and I was so mad because I was like, I didn't plan for this, and so all the things that I'm like, I would never want somebody to do this to me. Why would I do it to my customers, right? And it's as simple as that. And just taking good care of them, ask them how their day is. Remember that they're people. I mean, your customer pays your bills. It pays the employees' bills. Like, my boss is the customer.
Yeah,
So whatever they say typically goes, and I get to learn from them. And if they say something is not right, we try to fix it, or something isn't fair, we ask them like, what's fair? And that's treated us really well to just make sure, like, at the end of the day, we take care of our customers, take care of our employees, like just take care of people. And that's all people want. They just want a square deal. They want you to do what's right by them. They don't want to feel like they're getting blindsided or ripped off. And that's really easy to do, is to just be, take care of them. Sometimes it's inconvenient and you have to bite your tongue and it's hard, but like it's important.
for sure. No, that's a great concept. I love when you said that the customers are your boss, and it's totally true. As a business owner, that's totally true, and you have to treat them with respect, just as you would your boss, and as your employees treat you. So well, that's a great saying. I'm gonna have to live by that now.
Yeah, yeah, they pay your bills.
Yeah, they
They're
do.
the boss. They pay my paycheck. So
Yeah, no, that's totally true. Where do you want to see Carefree Windshield Repair in the next 6 to 12 months? Do you have any plans to expand, maybe get a second shop, or you guys want to stay as a smaller company for the moment? What are your goals for the company?
you know, um, it'd be great to have more shops and more locations, and truly to just like be able to help more people.
Yeah,
A lot of what I realized, like trying to take this from, like when it was my dad, it was a one-man operation, and then you add people and you add complexity, and every time you add three people, you have to invent a process, is kind of how it works. And
yeah,
so I've learned that, like, hey, I have to kind of proceduralize some of this stuff. I'm trying to make it not so corporate because I know a lot of people that have worked in the corporate, automotive world, and it's a nightmare. And so it's how do we grow strategically, and make sure that we don't get over leveraged, but also retain culture, but also make sure that we keep quality. And that's a
Yeah.
really fine balance. So, um, 6 months, 9 months, a year, it sounds like a great timeline, but I really have to think in like 5 year, 10 year timelines and be like when we're ready or
Yeah.
when we can make sure that we can do this and we can execute it. Because so for me right now, the main focus is like make sure that the team is really well taken care of. Make sure that we're staying consistent with what we're doing. We're adding little bits and we're stress testing it just enough that we don't completely break the system, but we learn from our mistakes and we learn from things that we tried. So in the next 6, 12 months, it's that. It's, hey, how can we test this to really make sure that where we have operates really smoothly, and then let's duplicate it. And so that's kind of where I'm at is how do I figure out how to make this almost a franchise style where you go, I can plug anybody into this and they know what to do and they know how to work. Not that I necessarily want to franchise it, but that's a good backbone of how do you have a second location? Because a lot of people open up another shop and then realize it's way harder to run two than it is one.
For sure.
You're adding twice the people, twice the payroll, twice the, you know, twice everything.
No,
So
that's a great way to look at it as well. To make sure you have everything in line, make sure everything's running properly, make sure the guys are happy, and that's the biggest thing is making sure you can keep your employees, make sure they're happy, because if you can do that, you might have people that want to step up into a bigger position at some point, which can help you take that next step even further as well. So it's that's definitely the biggest, like you said, it's the biggest thing, and control your growth because you don't want to grow too fast, obviously. And no, that's to you said it perfectly.
yeah, it's an interesting. I mean, for anybody who wants to look at like really good growth patterns, is the guy who built Patagonia, right? He has a book called Let My People Go Surfing. But one of his things was he realized he was growing too fast, and then the growing pains he wasn't able to catch up. So he was like, I'm gonna only grow 1% a year. And that's
Yeah,
like everybody's like, I want to grow 20% and we're going to have all this revenue. But people, like companies statistically, they grow huge and then they just like can't handle it and they tank. And so it's like, it's super sexy and it's like, yeah, we're doing all this. But it's like, you're not going to build a long-term thing. Unfortunately, it's really fun. And it's like all inside of me. I'm like, yeah, let's do this. And that's what I want to do. But I have to be like, it's not just my livelihood at stake. It's other people's. And so I have to be responsible. So,
for sure.
but that's kind of where I learned some of that of like, hey, slow is sometimes better, and unfortunately it's slow and that's not fun. And especially in the world we live in today, people reward you on like being faster and being bigger. You're like, wow, this company got valued at $100 billion over 2 years. And you're like, okay, that's sick, but it doesn't always pan out well.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's it depends on how much leverage you have with people around you as well, and how good you want to treat your employees and your customers and everything else. Because as soon as you start taking those next steps, a lot of the time people get carried away and keep taking more steps and get themselves further away from the company, not realizing that their company also needs help. The backbone of the company needs help as well. So that's a great. You explained it perfectly. Is that a Beamer behind you?
It is, yeah.
Okay, I was trying to figure it out. I was like, it's got to be a Beamer.
Yeah.
Um,
It's an M3.
M3,
Yeah.
E46, yeah,
Is it E90? E92.
E92. Oh, it looks
Yeah.
older.
Yeah.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. Anyways,
This was yeah. This was one of the things that kind of got me into it got me into cars. Like I was like taking things apart and putting them back together as a kid, and I was
yeah,
able to find this and then build it. It was like wrecked, and my dad was like, I was like, I'm gonna buy this. Can I just use like some of one of the bays? And we didn't have. This was a long time ago, and he was like, I really want to learn how to build a car. And he's like, yeah, sure. And so I did it and just like took it apart. Oh God, I probably took this thing apart 50 times, put it back together, took it apart, took it, and like, but it was cool because like that was a really good. You asked about like education earlier.
Yeah.
You know, like I could have gone to mechanical school and done all this. Like I learned more breaking bolts, you know, over
Literally.
tightening them,
Yeah.
being like, and I had good people that were like, "Hey, I don't know how to do this. Do you know like somebody in this?" I call like a mechanic shop that we do work for, and be like, they're like, "Well, you need one of these." And it's like, "Okay, good. Thanks for helping me out." But you know, like that experience like is just the true best educator, and you learn,
Yeah.
oh, I won't do that again. That was expensive.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I've had a similar, I'm a Volkswagen guy. So with my Volkswagens, I've built a couple now, and I've had similar things. And it's just even reaching out to people in the online communities and just reaching out to people in the community. The automotive industry is unreal because anyone will help you out, and everyone is willing to teach you if you want to gain the knowledge. And that's what I
Yeah.
love about it.
People are so nice. Like if you ever look up, I'm sure you have forums that you go on. Like guys
Yeah.
will write up these detailed forum posts on like a DIY on something that's fairly complex. Like
Yeah.
I did like the rod bearings in it, and there was like 50 posts, and I'm like, this is awesome. Like somebody took the time, and then he get paid. They didn't get anything out of it other than just they're like the good karma for the next guy. And you're like,
Yeah.
this is cool. This is, you know, everybody wants everybody else to be like, yeah, you get to drive it when you're done. It's cool.
It, that's what's so nice about the automotive industry. And like even if you're not don't have the same vehicle, like if you go to a car show and you roll up, everyone appreciates everyone's car that's there. Everyone appreciates everyone's build. Maybe not the 16-year-old guys that just go to high school, but they're still there. They're learning, and that's the
Yeah.
reason they're there, right? They want to meet people and learn more about the industry and what they can do to their vehicles as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and you respect people that have built stuff. You go, oh man, I wouldn't build that, but I can appreciate the time that it took
Yeah.
you to, they're like, I did this myself. And you're like, I would never. That's insane.
It's crazy. It's a great industry, and it's yeah. I wish I could had time to go to more car shows and obviously work on like mine's my Volkswagen. I want to pull it back apart once again, but
Yeah.
I wish I had the time and money to do that. But that's just part of being a car guy.
It's the same with me. Like I have this, and it sits more often than it should. You know, I should
Yeah,
drive it. I'm afraid right now because it's like hail season in Colorado, so I'm like, you know, I don't want to chance it. But yeah, it's always like, you know, I get done and I work on cars all day long, and then it's like, do you want to work on your car for another 4 hours? It's
yeah,
like, I don't know. I kind of want to go home and see my family.
yeah. No, for
So
sure. And so my kind of background, I worked as a trucking coach technician, working on transport trucks, and I've done that for the past 3 or 4 years now. And I loved it when I first started. You know, we did fabrication as well. Like we weren't just trucks; we did a lot of welding and whatnot as well. But I'd come home at the end of the day, go to work on my projects, and I just had no motivation. I was like, I'm sick of
hmm
working on vehicles, so I quit that, and that's why I now started Kortex Media. And actually, last night on one of my Volkswagens, I want to sell it, so I pulled the body kit I had off and put the stock one back on. And it was like I enjoyed working on my vehicles again, and it was great. It was awesome.
yeah, yeah. There's the love for it, and everybody falls into it, and it's awesome. And it's a dangerous game you play when you want to work in the industry because you have to be like, yeah, I don't know. I haven't quite figured it out, but there are days when I actually get a lot of enjoyment out of like helping other people now. Like
Yeah,
this is awesome, but like I had a friend who came by and was like, "Hey, he had no idea. He had no idea how to do anything." And I like helped him change his brake pads and like do his oil. And I have a lift, so like it's way easier. And I didn't always have a lift, but I have a lift now. So I was like, "Come on, like bring it down. Like I'll help you get oil. I have every tool you could ever need." And he was
yeah.
like, at the end of it, like almost in tears. I'm just like, dude, I never thought like I'd be able to do that, and like that's insane. And I'm like, yeah, dude, for sure, you can do it. And like the joy that he had, I was like, oh my God, this is like why I love this. You know, I get to help
It,
somebody and teach them a little something. So
yeah, it's again the automotive community. Like everyone's willing to teach people about their and vehicles. Like if someone's like, "Oh, teach me how to do brakes," you're like, "Hell yeah, I'll teach you how to do brakes, man! Like let's go.
yeah,
That's awesome."
yeah, Or if you don't know, it's like, we're going to figure it out together. Like,
Yeah.
a friend of mine's car was like, have you ever done one of these? I'm like, no, but we could probably figure it out. Like, worst case scenario, it's going to cost us something, but we're going to probably be better than going to the dealer.
Yeah, and you'll save a hell of a lot of money. So, no,
Yeah.
that's awesome. That's what I love. If you could go back to when you first joined or took over your dad's company, what advice would you give yourself?
I think the knowledge of that it's going to be twice as hard as you think it's going to be, and it's going to be twice as slow as you think it's going to be. So just be prepared for that, and then you won't have any expectation. Yeah.
And a lot of people jumping into business think it's gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna make millions, let's do it. But like you said, take it slow and do it properly.
Yeah, and when I started, I got really overzealous and like I grew really fast, which was awesome. But it came with growing pains, and I was not ready for those. And so I learned a lot of lessons. And unfortunately, a lot of the lessons that you have to solve in business cost money. And so when you don't have money, you cannot grow, as fast. So it's like you have this trade and you pay. We always just call it tuition. Like if I have somebody that messes something up, I'm just like, dude, you just paid tuition. Like that's what it is. Like you learned, it cost you money. You go to school, you pay tuition, you learn, it costs you money. It doesn't matter. Like you broke something, it's what it is. So I paid a lot of tuition in the first couple of years, and I learned a lot, and I'm really grateful for all the stuff that I've learned because I get to now help other people not have to make those same mistakes. But yeah, I think just I would have told myself to have more patience, which is hard because you want everything instantaneously and you want to make a ton of money right away and be and it's like this is a game and you have to play it and it is a marathon, it's not a sprint, and it's like and you got to train, you got to practice, and it's going to take a long time, and you got to really be willing to sink your teeth in on hard things, because if you're not that invested into it, it gets really hard really fast.
For sure. No, that's some great advice. That's really good. It's almost one of the best ones I've heard on the podcast so far. This
Thanks.
one's kind of similar, but looking back on your journey, what are some of the most important lessons you've learned? That's obviously one of them. And then what advice would you give to a young entrepreneur to kind of entering the space? Or would it be a similar advice to what you said to yourself?
Most important lessons would be read as much as you can if you decide that you want to have employees about managing people. Because if you are a great technician, the technical skills are a whole different basket than dealing with people's emotions. I had a client one time that was I talked to her about it, and I was talking to her about employees and something, and she's like, it's a lot like having kids, and she had like 5 kids, and she's like, each kid has a different way that you have to talk to them, and a different way. Like one kid I can just yell at, and that's how I get through to them, and the other one I can yell at, and they don't understand anything I'm saying. And she's like, and each kid is a very different personality and a very different way that you motivate them. And I'm like, okay. And then I got that like feedback loop hit me, and it was like, oh wow, she's totally right. This is 100%. And she'd been doing, she owns a spa, and she had like 30 or 40 employees, and I was like, oh. And so that was one thing I just had to like learn, like, how do you manage people? How do you manage expectations? How do you manage a team? What do you do? Like, very different than having a group project in high school or college. You're the guy, and unfortunately, like, things ride on it. So you have to sometimes tell people hard truths, and you have to decide how you deliver feedback to different people. But that's a really good thing to learn if you decide that you want to be in business. Can you give me your other question again? Your second part of it.
It was the lesson you learned, and then what advice you'd give to young entrepreneurs. But you've already given so much advice. And to touch on what you just said, it goes back to the old school mechanic, like you said, you got to read books. Or the old school mechanic, you knew how to work on vehicles. You didn't know how to do a business. You knew how to work on vehicles, and that was what everyone did. They knew how to fix a car, so they started a business fixing cars. But now it's a totally different world with websites to marketing to branding to every little aspect within a business, and obviously controlling employees as well.
Yeah, it's I was fortunate in that I knew a ton about digital marketing. I knew how to build websites. I knew how to run ads. I knew how to do SEO. Like I had been taught all that, and like to an nth degree. So that was a lot of like, even when my dad, I was like, oh, I can help you. I know how to do all this stuff. And so I started to kind of like do it for the business anyway. But even to this day, like I still do that. I mean, you can pay somebody for sure, right? It just costs, and it's like if you can run your business with paying somebody, like then go for it. And there's always a threshold. Like you pay for the knowledge that you don't know. So I think that's a lot of people, especially even in this, like it's easy to just get a truck and get a piece of glass and be like, I can do this, but like, do you know how to talk to customers? Do you know how to set up a phone line? Do you know, like if you want to really build like a shop, you know, you can always be like a single guy and just like I wrench on people's stuff on the weekend and like that's it. I would consider you like more of a hobbyist than a business necessarily, because there's not, you know, like we do P&L. We do, you know, like there's all these things, like look at what like Amazon or Apple or like big business does. Like how do they run a company? Like they have meetings, they have, you know, stock reports, they do all these things of like, we do inventory, we do this. Like that's what running a business is. So I think even for somebody who's going to get into this or a young entrepreneur, like big things that help a ton. And I've talked to a bunch of people that have had really successful companies in this and in other stuff is like finance. I'm also know a decent amount about finance, and I'm not scared of numbers. That's huge because this all works around currency. So if you understand how money moves and you understand how, you know, taking on debt if you need to buy equipment or whatever have you, like that is a huge portion of what I do. And if I didn't know that, fortunately, like my mom was an accountant, so I had a, you know, ace in my back pocket. But that's a huge part of this, and payroll and taxes and like, you know, it's not just the technical aspect. It's a lot of like, okay, that's one piece of it, but you also need to know, like, you have to be the greatest salesman, the greatest marketer, the greatest accountant, the greatest financier, and you have to be a manager. And like, and now you have 8 hours to try to do it, and you're going to get it all done in 12.
No, that's it's being a business owner is a lot harder than what it used to be 30 years ago, and it's evolved a hell of a lot more than what it used to be as well. But we also have the places to find that knowledge that if you wanted to learn, it's super easy to find. Just talk to professionals like yourself. You can use the internet, you can use books. So much knowledge in the world if you wanted to learn how to actually run a business and do it properly.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And it's the easiest and the hardest time simultaneously.
Yeah, for sure. Final question. Where can people find you? Your website, social media?
Our website is carefreewindshieldrepair.com. You can find us there. I don't have a social media, but our shop does, and I think it's just at Carefree Windshield Repair. So if you log on and you type in our name, we'll probably show up. I don't think there's a lot of Carefrees out there, and send us a message, or if anybody ever, you can just call our shop, and it typically either goes to me or one of our receptionists, and if anybody ever has any questions, we're always down to help. We know how hard this industry is. We know how complicated it is. And so if I can ever help somebody on the learning curve, like I said, I was really fortunate with a lot of really good mentors. And if I can be an asset for somebody else and get them going in the right direction, my dad did it for so many people, and they came back tenfold. And I was like, you know what? The theory is if somebody gives it to you one, you should give it to 10 people, right? And just, pass it along. So yeah, we're always down to help.
For sure. Awesome. I appreciate you coming on today, Colby. That was great. That was a great discussion about not even just industry trends, not even your company, but just growth being an entrepreneur as well. That was I really appreciate you coming on and giving me your opinions on everything.
Yeah, yeah, of course. I think it's a great industry to be in. It's a lot of fun. Nobody should be dissuaded from it. Just be prepared to work, and if you work hard, you'll be tremendously successful because there's a ton of opportunity in the automotive space for people that work hard and do good work. It's the sky is the limit. There's so much work out there.
For sure. Awesome. Appreciate it, Colby. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.